What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Benchwarmer Sports, and we got a doozy of a topic to talk about in today's video. We are going to be discussing the whole entire DeAndre Hopkins situation, free agency debate, debacle, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of smoke has been percolating around DeAndre Hopkins possibly coming to the Cleveland Browns. A lot of rumors and reports have been coming out about the so-called interest from the Cleveland Browns and from Browns players who have been public about their interest in DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Cleveland Browns. There's also been some other reports by other reporters talking about some other teams who may be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe some big teams who were interested to begin with may not be so interested now. So we're going to be getting into that in today's video. But first of all, I did want to start off with a quick word about the situation going on with Jimmy Donovan. If you guys are not Browns fans or if you guys are not familiar, Jim Donovan is the local play-by-play voice for the Cleveland Browns on the radio. He's also just a legendary sportscaster for the Cleveland area. And he previously did have a run-in with leukemia, and he was able to beat it. It was like 12 years ago or so. I remember when I was a little kid seeing him with no hair and that, and with the treatment that he underwent with trying to battle this leukemia. Well, unfortunately, last night on his news show, he announced that he has leukemia again. And he said that he's starting a more aggressive treatment to combat it. And just if you guys are not aware of this, Jim Donovan is like one of the most beloved characters in Cleveland, not just because of his ties and his affiliation with the Cleveland Browns, but just because he's done so much for the community. He just means so much. He's literally one of the heart and souls of Cleveland, and not just Cleveland sports, but just the city of Cleveland itself. So I just wanted to say, thoughts and prayers to him and his family. He's one of the main reasons why I got into sports in the first place, and the whole sports casting as well. Him, Fred McLeod, Tom Hamilton, those are the three guys that got me into that stuff. I mean, it's a rough thing to hear from him, but I just want to say thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. We're wishing him the best here on this channel. So if you guys can just put it down in the comment section below, just put some well wishes to Jim Donovan, I'd really appreciate it. But in any way, let's get on with the DeAndre Hopkins news. So if you guys have not been paying attention, I did do a short a couple days ago. I think it may have been a week at this point, but I basically said that I was not that high on DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Cleveland Browns just because the Browns are already so bloated at the receiver room at this point, because you traded for Elijah Moore with your second round pick this year to get him from the Jets. You were thinking that he'd be your number 2 guy. You also drafted Cedric Tillman in the 3rd round with your first pick that you swapped with the Jets for. So you basically got 2 wide receivers for your 42nd pick in a 2023 draft. You added them. You got Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Bell, who you just drafted last year. Anthony Schwartz is still on the team. I don't know how much longer he's going to be on the team, but you got Demetric Felton as well, who Deshaun Watson has had a little bit of a chemistry and a rapport with since he's been here. That's been rumored and reported. So you got him. You got Jakeem Grant coming back from a torn Achilles injury that he suffered in training camp. He's a wide receiver. You may just use him as a returner, but he's listed as a wide receiver. And then you have Michael Woods, who you drafted last year as well. So you got a lot of guys in that receiving room already. And now the rumor has been going around that DeAndre Hopkins pretty much is willing to come to the Cleveland Browns. There's a report that I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but there's a report that Hopkins signed with Clutch Sports Group, who manages a lot of Cleveland Browns players like Perion Winfrey, people like that. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is up there too. So a lot of Browns players are already signed with the Clutch Sports Group agency. And so people were kind of like trying to connect the dots and say, well, if a lot of Browns players are, signed with this sports agency and DeAndre Hopkins signs there, then that must mean that DeAndre Hopkins is going to come to the Cleveland Browns. Well, that's not necessarily the case. A lot of players from a lot of teams are signed with Clutch Sports. So it could be something. It could also not be. We don't know. But the Browns have actually gone out. A lot of Browns players, I should say, I should clarify, have gone out of their way to openly recruit DeAndre Hopkins to the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson was asked while the Browns were doing their annual golf outing, saying that he would love to have DeAndre Hopkins here, but it's all up to Andrew Berry. Denzel Ward had some good things to say the other day about Hopkins, about how he would be a good fit here. So a lot of Browns players, including just really prominent Browns players, their star players, are openly recruiting DeAndre Hopkins. Now, personally, when I did that short last week, I pretty much was at the point where I was like, I was 20% positive that the Browns would sign him. But based off of all the reports and the different rumors that have been going around, I would probably put it 50-50. And the reason why is because of a lot of reports that have been coming out today regarding the Buffalo Bills, who were pretty much one of the top candidates to land DeAndre Hopkins. They were looking for a number 2 receiver. They already have Stephon Diggs as their bona fide number 1. Gabe Davis is still there. He's a deep threat. Khalil Shakir is there. I don't know if Cole Beasley's still there. I haven't really paid attention to the moves that the Bills have made on the receiving end, but I know they were looking for at least a number 2 receiver, or at least another receiver to help out Stephon Diggs. Well, it just came out today that they are pretty much out of the DeAndre Hopkins running, just due to their cap situation, and it's the same thing that's going on with Kansas City. I think Kansas City is the favorite to land them, at least from the betting wise. But the problem with Buffalo and Kansas City is that while yes, they're the most likely for DeAndre Hopkins to be in position to get a ring, they don't have any cap space. I think Kansas City has like $1 million in cap space, and I think Buffalo has like maybe 5 million. Like, it's very low cap space for both teams. They'd be going over trying to get DeAndre Hopkins. Kansas City would make more sense to me for DeAndre Hopkins, but I just don't see them paying him what he would want. There's been reports that maybe he would want more than Odell got with the Ravens. Odell Beckham, didn't play last year due to coming back from the ACL tear in the Super Bowl. So he got a $15 million contract with the Baltimore Ravens for 1 year. I would personally, I would see DeAndre Hopkins asking for more. He's done more in the last couple of years than Odell Beckham has. He has been less injured than Odell has. Odell has torn his ACL twice in the last couple of years. DeAndre Hopkins hasn't. But the only problem is that DeAndre is going to be turning 31 while the season is underway. So definitely be interesting. I would see DeAndre Hopkins probably asking for something around $18 million a year, which leads me to saying that there are 2 teams where I feel like are probably sort of right now in the front running spot to land DeAndre Hopkins. I would put the Browns at one spot. I'd also put the New England Patriots on the other, because there's been a lot of smoke around Bill Belichick being really interested in signing DeAndre Hopkins, because Lord knows the Patriots need some help at the wide receiver position. They don't really have anybody. They just signed Juju Smith-Schuster this offseason. I don't feel like he's a number 1. I think he's at best a number 2 receiver in this league. So I think they would definitely be willing to take him. The only problem with that is that DeAndre Hopkins would have to be willing to go there. And Bill O'Brien, the former Texans coach and GM, who traded DeAndre Hopkins for basically a bag of peanuts in 2019 or after 2019, is the offensive coordinator there. And if you guys have not seen or heard any of the reports or any of the sayings that DeAndre Hopkins had, there is no love lost between DeAndre Hopkins and Bill O'Brien at all. Just an absolute buffoon when it came to being the head coach of the Texans and the GM of the Texans. He just made some really dumb moves. He traded DeAndre Hopkins for a literal 32-year-old like running back who was on the downside of his career. Just an absolutely stupid move by Bill O'Brien. So that's the only thing that would cause me to not believe that DeAndre Hopkins would go to the New England Patriots. Is just because of Bill O'Brien. I think he would get money that he's sinking there. But if I'm any team that wants to sign DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not doing more than a 2-year deal, in my opinion. And I feel like that's being generous because the guy, like I said, the guy is going to be 31 coming up in the season. He's still good. He averaged 750 yards last season after coming off of a 6-game suspension for PED use. He still almost had 1,000 yards. He was on pace to get 1,000 yards if he played, the entire season. But he was only able to play 6 games or 9 games. But if I'm the Browns, I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. I still have qualms just because the receiving room is so bloated. And if I'm Andrew Berry, if I'm hearing Deshaun Watson say, "Yes, I want DeAndre Hopkins, please go out and get him," I would try and do whatever I can to go get him. The problem is that the history of Andrew Berry does not show him moving on quickly from players who he has picked or from who players who he has signed. And that is the one thing I think is holding the Browns back from possibly going out and getting him, is because you have to ask yourself, do you really think Andrew Berry is going to move on from David Bell? No. No. If he moves on from David Bell before he moves on from Anthony Schwartz, that's a problem. That's a problem in my opinion. But David Bell's not going to go anywhere. Donovan Peoples-Jones is not going to go anywhere, even though his contract's coming up at the end of the year. Amari Cooper, you still got him for another year. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Elijah Moore, you just traded for him. He's not going anywhere. Cedric Tillman, you just drafted him this year. He's not going anywhere. So that leaves you Demetric Felton as a wide receiver. Now, do you move him into the backfield as the third running back behind Ford and Chubb? That is a possibility that I would look at. I think, Felton could be your receiving back coming out of the backfield. You can line him up with Chubb in some situations if you want to do like a pistol formation or something like that. I think that's a possibility. Jakeem Grant is there too. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't know, do you put him as a returner only and you just make him your Josh Cribbs pretty much, your kick returner and punt returner? I would probably do that to make some room. Then you have Michael Woods. You could probably put him on the practice squad. So, once you're looking at that, you got Amari Cooper being your number one. If they do sign DeAndre Hopkins, let me just say, you got Amari Cooper as your number one receiver, Hopkins your number two, Moore your third, DPJ your fourth, and then Tillman as your five or Bell as your five, and then Tillman as your six. If they want to do that, I wouldn't be mad about it. It's just there's going to be a lot of shuffling that they would have to do, and that probably means that some player, in that receiving room or in one of those rooms is going to have to get cut. And I don't see, I just don't see the Browns cutting one of their draft picks, especially like David Bell. If you told me, would you want to sign DeAndre Hopkins, but the only holdup is that you have to cut David Bell or one of those guys, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would. The problem is that Andrew Berry's history and his past actions have not shown me that he would be willing to move on from somebody like a David Bell that quickly, or from even Anthony Schwartz. Anthony Schwartz. What has Anthony Schwartz done in the last couple of years to warrant a spot on the roster? I don't understand. I don't understand how he was not cut after last year's preseason, where he was dropping everything. You can go back. I don't know if I privated the video or not, but you could go back and watch my preseason vlog when we were facing the Chicago Bears. And my God, every single time we threw the ball to Anthony Schwartz, the guy was just dropping everything. I've said this multiple times. I don't feel like Anthony Schwartz is a football player. I think he's just a fast guy who can run fast. I don't mean to be rude to him. By all indications, he's a nice guy. He's sweet. but the guy's just not. I just don't think he's fit for the NFL. It's just some guys are, some guys aren't, and Anthony Schwartz isn't. But yet, for some reason, Andrew Berry and them are hesitant to cut him for whatever reason. And that leads me to another thing. You drafted Cedric Tillman in the 3rd round, and now you're going to make him your 6th wide receiver on the depth chart or your 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. I mean, I don't know why you would take somebody that high if you're going to have him be so low on your receiving room. That doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't see Andrew Berry doing that. I don't know. I just feel like there's a 50-50 chance that the Browns will sign DeAndre Hopkins. Personally, I think it causes a lot of headaches, but DeAndre Hopkins is talented. He's a talented receiver. He's still got some stuff left in the tank. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like with the previous history that Andrew Berry has with his draft picks and his signings, his hesitancy to move on from certain people who he has drafted and from who he has picked and from who he has signed, I just feel like it's going to be a long shot for him to get rid of one of them. Demetric Felton, I feel like if you can move him into the backfield as your 3rd running back, I would think that's fine. That makes some room. You put Michael Woods down to the practice squad. Anthony Schwartz, you cut him. Then you also have Mike Harley Jr., who I forgot to mention until now. He's in the thing. Marquise Goodwin just made some big moves and big plays in the OTAs yesterday. So I just forgot to mention those two too as well. So you got like 7 guys there. It's like I said, it's very bloated. It's a very, very, very bloated receiving room. And I just don't see how it would work with the Cleveland Browns at this moment because you just have so many people in the receiving room right now. I mean, you're going to have to cut one of these guys who could be a prominent role or could have a prominent role on this team if it wasn't for DeAndre Hopkins joining the team, right? So you're going to have to cut somebody. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if Andrew Berry is going to, but like I said, I think it's a 50-50 shot they sign him, but regarding Andrew Berry's past history with his signings and his draft picks, regarding the fact that the receiver room is very bloated, you got a lot of guys in that receiver room, I just don't see it really working out or happening. Like I said it in my short, I just feel like this is another thing where Browns fans, and not just to say that Browns fans are the only ones to do this, but this just feels like another case of fans knowing a certain name and say, hey, that guy was good 3 years ago, let's get him. Well, the problem is that doesn't really make any sense for your football team at the way it's currently constructed. It's just not. I just don't think it's feasible at this point right now, unless the Browns are willing to cut a lot of people from the receiving room who they feel like could make a big impact. They could do it. They could prove me wrong, but I just don't see it happening. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit that like button, and thank you guys so much for 600 subscribers. We had a lot of support here on this channel the last couple of weeks with my Donovan Mitchell video just absolutely going nuts out of nowhere with the recommendations from YouTube. So thank you guys so much. If you are new and you have subscribed, thank you guys so much for your support. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? It takes like half a second to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Like the video, helps out in the algorithm as well. And if you guys are feeling extra generous, there's my Cash App at the bottom of the screen. That's the best way to donate to the channel. It is going to upgrade the quality of the content and the quality of the videos here on this channel. So I'm going to be trying to get a new microphone, more portable microphones to do interviews, especially for training camp coming up, a better camera for you guys. A lot of stuff is in the works, and I have a lot of stuff planned here for the future of this channel. And it's all because of you guys and your support. So thank you guys so much once again. I'll see you guys all in another video. Take care. And yeah, that's it.